I loaned my family $47,000 for their emergencies, then learned they'd been scamming me. I demanded repayment. When they refused, I took them to court. All right, Reddit. I loaned my family $47,000 for their emergencies. Then I learned they'd been vacationing on my dime, so I demanded repayment. When they refused, I took them to court. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the show. I'm Ray, 28, male, and until I finally woke up and changed things, I was basically the human ATM for my entire bloodline. This isn't going to be some whiny crap about being the middle child or whatever. This is about how I took a family of professional moochers and legally destroyed their whole world. My sister Elena is 25 and has basically turned being helpless into an art form. You know the type. Looks like she stepped out of an Instagram ad. Always has some crisis going on. And somehow it's always someone else's job to fix it. Growing up, she had this whole routine perfected. Cry at exactly the right moment, play victim, then sit back and watch her parents throw cash at whatever mess she'd made that week. Our parents weren't just enabling this crap. They were running the whole operation. Mom had this move where she'd call me all stressed about Elena's latest situation, make it sound like I was literally the only person on earth who could help, then act like I was some kind of monster if I didn't immediately open my wallet. Dad would jump in with all this guilt trip nonsense about family loyalty and how successful people have obligations to help out the less fortunate. They created this thing where saying no to Elena meant disappointing Mom and Dad, destroying the family, and basically being the jerk who abandoned his sister when she needed him most. For years, I fell for it every single time. After college, I landed this decent gig doing operations management for a logistics company here in Phoenix. Good money, benefits, my own place in Scottsdale. That's when I became useful to them in a whole new way. The request started small. Elena needed help with a security deposit. Parents had some unexpected car repair. Cousin Derek needed bail money after his third DUI. But here's the thing. I wasn't just handing out cash like some idiot anymore. I'd learned enough about money by then to know that family loans needed to be documented. So I started writing up actual loan agreements. Nothing crazy at first. Just amount, payment terms, signature. Everyone signed without even reading. Because, hey, who doesn't sign a piece of paper to get free money from the family sucker, right? The requests kept coming. Elena's rent when she decided to quit her job to focus on her art. Spoiler alert, her art was taking pictures of her breakfast. Dad's new Harley when his midlife crisis hit hard. Mom's cosmetic surgery because she deserved to feel beautiful. Elena's credit card debt from her online shopping addiction. Another car repair, another emergency. Another crisis that somehow only my bank account could solve. Every single time I made them sign paperwork. I told them it was just to keep things organized and protect everyone involved. They thought it was me being all anal retentive and wanting everything neat and tidy. By last spring, the outstanding balance was getting close to $32,000. Elena alone owed me $18,000 across 7 different loans. Parents owed another $11,000. The extended family rounded out the rest. And guess how many payments any of them had made on any of it? If you guessed 0, congratulations. You're smarter than my entire gene pool. That's when I was dating Sarah. She's been my girlfriend for about 8 months now and works in legal compliance for Bank of America. She's got this way of cutting through nonsense that I found incredibly attractive. When she started seeing my family dynamics up close, she didn't just call it unhealthy. She called it straight up fraud. Ray, she said one night, after Elena had called me sobbing about needing money for her cat's emergency surgery. The same cats he'd posted Instagram stories about getting $200 nail caps for earlier that day. You realize they're never going to pay you back, right? This isn't family helping family. This is financial abuse. Coming from someone who dealt with financial crimes for a living, that hit different. Sarah started asking me questions about the loans that I'd never even thought about. Were there payment schedules? Had anyone ever made a single payment? Did I have records of where the money actually went? The answers were yes, heck no, and holy crap, you're not going to believe this. I started going through Elena's social media. The money she'd borrowed for rent help had paid for a weekend in Vegas. The car repair loan had bought designer handbags. The emergency medical bills were actually cosmetic dental work she wanted. She wasn't just failing to pay me back. She was committing loan fraud on a scale that would make Tony Soprano proud. Our parents weren't innocent either. Dad's emergency home repair money had bought fishing gear. Mom's medical expenses had paid for spa treatments. They were all lying, all stealing, and all documenting their theft on social media. Anyways, my 28th birthday fell on a Friday, and for the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to it. Sarah had planned something special. Dinner at this steakhouse I'd been wanting to try, just the two of us. Simple, perfect, exactly what I wanted. 2 days before my birthday, Elena called with her latest emergency. She'd been offered an opportunity to invest in her friend's startup boutique, but needed $4,000 to secure her partnership. This would be different from all the other loans because this was an investment in her future. She'd be able to pay me back with interest once the business took off. I almost laughed. Instead, I told her I'd think about it and get back to her. That night, Sarah and I went through all the loan documents together. Elena had borrowed money for emergencies 15 times in the past 2 years. She'd made 0 payments toward any of them. She'd used loan money for luxury purchases at least 8 times that we could prove from her social media. What happens if you just say no? Sarah asked. World War III? Mom calls crying about how I'm abandoning Elena in her time of need. Dad lectures me about family obligations. Elena posts passive-aggressive crap on Instagram, and if you say yes, I'm out another $4,000 that I'll never see again. And in 6 months, she'll have another emergency that only I can solve. Sarah pulled out her laptop and started typing. Option 3, you say yes, but you do it properly this time. She drafted a loan agreement that would make a corporate lawyer proud. Personal guarantee, defined payment schedule, default clauses, penalty interest rates, personal liability provisions, and documentation requirements. It was airtight, comprehensive, and legally enforceable. If she wants to play the loan game, Sarah said, let's play it by real rules. Friday morning, I called Elena back and agreed to the loan, but she'd need to come to my apartment to sign the paperwork. Standard procedure for this amount, I told her, just protecting everyone involved. She showed up at my place at 2 p.m. with our parents in tow. They decided to surprise me by turning my loan signing into an impromptu birthday celebration. They brought a grocery store cake in a car that was clearly grabbed from a gas station on the way over. I spread the loan documents across my kitchen table while Mom lit the birthday candles. The contrast was freaking surreal. My sister signing papers to borrow another $4,000, while my family sang happy birthday around a $6 cake from Fry's. I watched my sister legally obligate herself to $4,000 plus interest, while my family celebrated my birthday as an afterthought to her financial drama. After they left, I created detailed documentation of the transaction with timestamps, photos of the signed agreement, and records of the bank transfer. I also started a formal loan servicing file with payment, due dates, and default procedures clearly established. Sarah helped me set up an automated system to track and document every missed payment for court purposes. That weekend, Sarah helped me organize all the loan documents into a proper filing system. We created a spreadsheet tracking every loan, every missed payment, all of them, and every instance of loan fraud we could document from social media. We cross-reference dates, amounts, and actual uses of the money. The pattern was undeniable. Elena's new $4,000 loan was supposed to fund her business investment. On Sunday, she posted Instagram stories from some luxury resort in Scottsdale, showing off her weekend getaway with friends. The business investment was apparently coda for vacation money. I screenshot everything. Ray, Sarah said, looking at all the evidence we'd compiled. You realize you have grounds for fraud charges here? Multiple fraud cases against my own family, against people who are stealing from you while manipulating your emotions to keep you compliant. She was right, but I wasn't ready to go nuclear yet. I still had some stupid hope that maybe if I confronted them directly, they'd acknowledge what they're doing and we could work something out. I was about to learn that hope was a freaking mistake. I decided to test my family's commitment to paying me back by doing something radical, asking for my money. Elena's latest loan agreement had a clause requiring payment within 30 days if I requested it. So I called her up. Hey, Elena, I need you to pay back the $4,000 from last month. I've got some unexpected expenses coming up. The silence lasted about 10 seconds. Then are you serious right now? I just borrowed that money. You know I don't have it. It's been 3 weeks, and the agreement says you'll pay on demand if you need it. Ray? Gosh, I can't just pull $4,000 out of my butt. I thought you understood this was more of a long-term thing. How long-term are we talking? I don't know. Maybe when the business starts making money. This is really crappy timing, Ray. When do you think that might be? I don't know. Why are you being so weird about this? You've never acted like this before. She was right. I'd always acted like the family ATM that just dispensed money without consequences. Helena, you owe me $18,000 across 7 different loans. You've never made a payment on any of them. When exactly were you planning to start? Another long pause. I didn't realize you were keeping track like that. That seems kind of obsessive. I'm not asking for everything at once. Just this one payment, so I know you're serious about paying me back. Fine, I'll talk to Mom and Dad. Maybe they can help me out. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Mom called. Ray, honey, Elena is really upset. She says you're demanding money from her and being really aggressive about it. I asked her to pay back one loan, according to the agreement she signed 3 weeks ago. Well, she doesn't have that kind of money right now. She's trying to get her business off the ground. Mom, she spent the business loan money on a weekend vacation. I have the pictures. She needed some relaxation before starting the business. You can't expect her to work constantly without any downtime. I expect her to use loan money for what she borrowed it for. You're being very rigid about this, Ray. Family is supposed to be flexible with each other. How much money has Elena paid back on any of her loans? That's not the point. The point is, you're making her feel bad about accepting help from her brother. The point is, she's borrowed $18,000 and hasn't paid back a cent. We didn't raise you to be this petty about money. That night, Sarah and I were having dinner when my phone started blowing up. Group text from the family. Elena, I guess I know where I stand with my own brother now. Mom, we didn't raise such a heartless son. Dad, your grandfather would be ashamed of this behavior. I'm disappointed about how you're treating your sister. You showed Sarah the messages. She read them twice, then looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Ray, they're gaslighting you for trying to enforce an agreement they signed. Maybe I am being too rigid about it. No, stop, listen to me. You're not being rigid. You're being treated like a mark in an Acon game. And when you started asking questions, they're trying to make you feel guilty for catching them. She pulled up Elena's Instagram on her laptop. Look at this. Posted 4 hours ago. It was a photo of Elena at some expensive restaurant with the caption, treating myself to some self-care after a really hard day. Some people in your life will try to tear you down when you're building something beautiful, but real ones know your worth. Blessed toxic people. She's playing victim, Sarah said, on social media for your mutual friends and family to see after stealing $4,000 from you and refusing to pay it back. That's when something clicked in my brain. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about control. My family had built their entire dynamic around me being the reliable one who never pushed back, never made demands, never expected anything in return. I want to see exactly how much they owe me, I told Sarah, all of it with interest. We spent the weekend building a comprehensive financial analysis. Every loan with interest calculated to the rate, specified in each agreement. Late, fees for every missed payment, penalty interest for documented fraudulent loan money for purposes other than what was stated. The original principal was $32,000 with accumulated interest, late fees, and penalty charges. The total came to $47,000. Holy crap, I said, staring at the spreadsheet. All right, this is embezzlement. If they worked for a company and did this to their employer, they'd be in federal prison. What do? Shep printed everything out. First, you send them a formal demand letter requesting payment in full. Give them 30 days to respond. If they don't pay or refuse, you file in small claims court for anything under the limit and superior court for the rest. I can't sue my own family. They're not acting like your family. They're acting like criminals who happen to share your DNA. Sunday night, I drafted the demand letter. I attached copies of every loan agreement, every missed payment notice, and the total calculation with interest and fees. I sent it certified mail to all 3 of them Monday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone was ringing nonstop. I didn't answer. By Wednesday, they were showing up at my job. Elena cornered me in the parking lot after work. What the heck is wrong with you? A legal letter? Really? You owe me money. I'm asking for it back. This is insane. You're acting like some kind of loan shark. I'm acting like someone who expects signed agreements to be honored. Fine. If this is how you want to play it, don't expect me to be your sister anymore. Elena, you haven't been my sister for years. You've been my customer. She actually looked shocked. I thought you loved me, she said. And for a moment, she looked genuinely hurt. I do love you, but love isn't supposed to cost $47,000. That weekend, they called a family meeting at our parents' house. They wanted to work this out and get our family back on track. I knew it was an ambush, but I went anyway. Sarah offered to come with me as a witness, but I wanted to handle this myself. It was exactly the trap I expected. Walking into my parents' house that Sunday felt like entering a courtroom where I was both the defendant and the only person who didn't know what crime I was being charged with. Mom, Dad, and Elena were set up in the living room like a panel of judges. They had even brought Uncle Kevin, Dad's brother, who'd borrowed $3,000 from me last year for home repairs. And surprise, also owed me money. Sit down, Ray, Dad said, pointing to the chair across from them. We need to talk about this money situation. I sat down and pulled out my phone to record. If we're having a legal discussion about debt repayment, I want a record of it. Put that away. Mom snapped. This is a family conversation. No, this is a business conversation about $47,000 in outstanding loans. My family conversations don't usually involve certified letters and legal documents. Elena started crying immediately. I can't believe you're treating us like strangers. We're your family. Then act like it. Uncle Kevin leaned forward. Look, kid, you make good money. We all know that. This money isn't going to make or break you, but demanding it back is going to break this family apart. I'm not demanding anything. I'm enforcing legal agreements that you all signed willingly. Dad's face was getting red. Your grandfather built this family on loyalty and helping each other out. He'd be disgusted to see what you've become. Grandpa never loaned anyone $47,000 and got stiffed on all of it. $47,000? Mom looked genuinely surprised. It's not that much, is it? I pulled out Sarah's spreadsheet and spread it across the coffee table. Elena owes $24,000 with accumulated interest and late fees from her original $18,000. In loans plus, there's some $4,000. You and Dad owes $17,000 with interest from your original $11,000. Uncle Kevin owes $4,000 with interest from his original $3,000 various. Cousins and family friends account for the rest. You can't charge family members interest, Elena said. That's not how family works. Read your loan agreements? You all signed papers, agreeing to interest rates. We thought those were just formalities. Legal documents aren't formalities. They're contracts. Uncle Kevin stood up. This is not only money, Ray. This is about respect, about knowing your place in this family. I raised an eyebrow. My place. You're the one who made it in life. You got a good job, a nice apartment, and financial stability. With success comes responsibility to take care of the people who helped you get there. Who helped me get where? Name one thing any of you did to help my career. Silence. I worked 2 jobs through college while Elena got her tuition paid for. I studied for my certifications while you all went on vacation. I built my career while you all built debt. Now you think my success obligates me to subsidize your irresponsibility. Dad stood up too. That's enough. You're going to forgive these loans and apologize to your sister, or you're not welcome in this family anymore. This was it. The moment where they expected me to fold, apologize, and go back to being their personal ATM? No, I said simply. What do you mean, no? Mom looked like I'd slapped her. No, I won't forgive the loans. I won't apologize. And no, I won't pretend this conversation didn't happen. Elena's crying got louder. You're choosing money over family. You chose money over family when you decided to steal from me repeatedly while lying about it. I started packing up my papers. You have 30 days to respond to the demand letter. If you want to work out payment plans, my attorney can discuss that with your attorneys. Attorney? Dad sputtered. You got a lawyer involved? Yes, and he's very interested in this situation. That wasn't entirely true yet, but I could see the panic in their faces. The idea that this might have real legal consequences hadn't occurred to them. You wouldn't actually sue us, Elena said. You can't sue family? Watch me. I walked to the door, then turned back. By the way, Elena, I hope that boutique investment works out for you. You'll need the income to start making payments. What boutique investment? Mom asked. The one Elena borrowed $4,000 for 3 weeks ago, except she spent it on a weekend in Scottsdale instead. The look on my parents' faces was worth the entire confrontation. Monday morning, I called Sarah's recommended attorney. David Whitman specialized in civil litigation and financial crimes. When I explained the situation, he was quiet for a long time. Ray, how much documentation do you have? Everything. Signed loan agreements, bank transfers, social media evidence of fraud, text messages, the whole story. And they've made 0 payments on any of these loans. 0. This is obtained money under false pretenses with no intention of repayment. That's fraud. Can we win? Win. Ray, the question is how much we want to hurt them. We decided to start with a small claims court for Thesmaler amounts. Send a message before escalating to superior court for the larger sums. David filed the first lawsuit Tuesday. Ray versus Elena, Uncle Kevin, and 2 cousins for amounts under the small claims limit. The papers were served Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, my phone was exploding again. This time I answered, Ray, what the heck have you done? Dad's voice was shaking with rage. I filed lawsuits to recover money that's legally owed to me. How could you sue your own family? This ends now. You call your lawyer and drop this case. No, then you're no longer Orson. Good, then you're no longer my debtors. You're just regular defendants now. I hung up and immediately called David. They just disowned me. Does that change anything legally? Actually, it helps us. They can't claim family privilege or emotional duress in court if they're publicly severing the family relationship. No family court complications. No emotional considerations for the judge to worry about. Sarah and I celebrated that night. It felt like we'd finally called their bluff and won. But they weren't done yet. I should have known they wouldn't go down quietly. Elena's first move was predictable. A social media campaign designed to destroy my reputation and make me look like the villain. She posted this long emotional story about how her own brother was literally trying to destroy her life over money. The post got sympathy from friends and distant relatives who didn't know the full story. Comments poured in calling me heartless, greedy, cruel. Elena ate up the attention, playing victim like she was born for the role. Screenshotted everything. Sarah told me I might need it in case she escalated. We could sue for defamation. But the funny part, Elena's post backfired when Sarah started commenting with facts. Under Elena's tearful post, Sarah wrote, But we borrowed $22,000 from Rye over 2 years and hasn't paid back a single payment. She used her most recent $4,000 loan for a vacation instead of the business investment she claimed. Elena deleted Sarah's comment and blocked her, but not before many people had already seen it. Tuesday brought a new escalation. I got a call at work from HR. Someone had filed a complaint claiming I was using company resources to harass my family members. Ray, we got an anonymous report that you've been using company computers to stalk your sister on social media and using work time to plan legal action against family members. I explained the situation to HR, showing them that all my legal research had been done on personal time with my own devices. The complaint was obviously nonsense, but it was enough to suggest someone was trying to mess with me at work. David advised me to file a police report for harassment. They're trying to interfere with your employment now. That crosses the line. Wednesday, things got worse. I came home to find my apartment door unlocked. Nothing was missing, but stuff was moved around. My filing cabinet, where I kept copies of all the loan documents, was open. My laptop was still there, but it had been moved. I called the cops immediately. While they were taking the report, my neighbor from across the hall mentioned seeing Elena and Uncle Kevin in the hallway earlier. They said they were bringing you something from your parents. I thought it was weird they had a key. I'd given Elena a spare key 2 years ago when she was watching my cat. I'd completely forgotten to get it back. The cops couldn't do much without proof of actual theft, but they documented the break-in. David was furious when I called him. Right, they're tampering with evidence. This is witness intimidation. I'm filing for a restraining order and alerting the court about their behavior. Won't that just escalate things more? They broke into your home. The question now is whether you want to be a victim or whether you want to fight back. Thursday morning, I woke up to find all 4 tires on my truck slashed. No note, no direct threat, but the message was clear. I was parked in my apartment complex's lot, and the security camera shed conveniently malfunctioned the night before. I called Sarah first, then the police, then David. Sarah was at my apartment within 20 minutes, and she was absolutely livid. This is insane, Ray. They're losing their minds. The police were more helpful this time. Tire slashing was clear vandalism, and the timing made it obvious who was responsible. They couldn't prove it, but they could increase patrols around my apartment and create a paper trail. David was already drafting emergency motions. We're asking for restraining orders against all of them, and we're amending the lawsuit to include harassment, intimidation, and property damage. This is going to get expensive for them very quickly. How expensive? Civil penalties, legal fees, possible criminal charges if the DA decides to prosecute. They've turned a simple debt collection case into felony harassment. That afternoon, Elena called me for the first time since the family meeting. Her voice was different. Ray, we need Toduk. This has gotten out of hand. Has it? Because from where I'm sitting, you broke into my apartment and slashed my tires. I didn't. We didn't. Look, can we meet somewhere just to talk? We can talk through our attorneys, please. I'm scared. Uncle Kevin is talking about doing more serious stuff. I never wanted it to go this far. That got my attention. What kind of more serious stuff? He's talking about your job, your girlfriend, making you regret this. Ray, I think he's lost his mind. Elena, if Uncle Kevin threatens me or Sarah, I will destroy all of you. I know, I believe you. That's why we need to fix this before it gets worse. There's nothing to fix. You owe me money. Pay it back. I can't pay back $24,000. I don't have it. Then you should have thought about that before you borrowed it. What if I could pay back some of it? Like, prove I'm serious about making this, right? I paused. How much are we talking? I could probably get together maybe $3,000 if I sold some stuff and picked up extra shifts. When? 2 weeks? Maybe 3? Elena, you owe $24,000. $3,000 is 12%. That's not making it right. That's insulting. It's a start though, right? Elena, if you want to make a deal, you talk to my attorney. You come up with a realistic payment plan and you get Uncle Kevin to back the heck off before he does something that lands him in prison. Can you? Would you consider dropping the lawsuit if we worked something out? That depends on what you're offering and whether you can control the psychopath. I'll call your lawyer tomorrow. She hung up and I immediately called David to give him a heads up. Interesting. He said they're starting to realize this might have real consequences. But Ray, be careful. Sometimes people get more dangerous when they're cornered. He was right to warn me. That night, Sarah and I were having dinner at our usual spot when Uncle Kevin showed up. He just walked over to our table and stood there staring at me with this expression that made other diners nervous. You think you're pretty smart, don't you? He said quietly. Kevin, you need to leave. We're having dinner. I'm going to give you one chance to make this right. Drop the lawsuit, forgive the money, and go back to being the good little family member you used to be. Sarah pulled out her phone and started recording. Sir, you're harassing us. We're calling the cops. And if I don't, I asked. Kevin smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. Then you're going to learn what happens to people who mess with the wrong family. He left without another word. Sarah and I sat there stunned for a moment. Ray, maybe you should think about staying at my place for a while, she said, already dialing the police. The cops took our statement and said they'd have a talk with Kevin, but unless he made a specific threat, there wasn't much they could do. David was more optimistic. Ray, he just threatened you in front of a witness while being recorded. That's enough for a restraining order. And it's enough to show the court that they're escalating this into criminal territory. By Friday, the restraining order was in place. Kevin couldn't come within 500 FT off me, Sarah, my apartment, or my workplace. Elena had called David and scheduled a meeting for the following week to discuss settlement terms. But the best news came from an unexpected source. David called me Friday afternoon with barely contained excitement. Ray, I just got some interesting information about Elena's situation. What kind of information? Remember how we documented all those instances where she used loan money for purposes other than what she claimed? Well, that's actually a pattern of obtaining money under false pretenses. Each instance where she lied about the intended use could be a separate count of fraud. How did you find that out? I've been building the case file for trial. We have documentation of at least 8 separate instances where Elena obtained money under false pretenses, which means we have serious leverage. Each count of obtaining money under false pretenses can carry significant penalties. Suddenly, our little family lawsuit had turned into something much bigger and much worse for them. Elena's settlement meeting was scheduled for Tuesday at David's office. She showed up alone, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. David had prepared what he called the reality presentation, a breakdown of Elena's legal exposure if this went to trial. Not just the $24,000 she owed me, but multiple counts of fraud for obtaining money under false pretenses, harassment penalties, and potential criminal liability for the break-in and property damage. Miss Elena, David began, your current legal exposure exceeds $40,000 in civil penalties alone. That's before we discuss the criminal fraud charges for systematically lying about how you intended to use borrowed money. Elena looked like she might puke. I didn't know lying about what I used the money for was illegal. I thought it was just between family. Obtaining money under false pretenses is fraud, regardless of family relationship. We have documented evidence of 8 separate instances where you lied about intended use of borrowed funds. I watched my sister realize that her lies had consequences she'd never considered. What do you want from me? She asked. David slid a settlement agreement across the table. Full repayment of principal and interest, $24,000 payment plan over 18 months. Agreement to cease all harassment and intimidation. Public apology acknowledging the debt and your behavior. I don't have $24,000. Then you'll need to figure out how to get it. That's not our problem. What if I can't make the payments? Then we proceed with the lawsuit and refer the fraud charges to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. Elena sat there picking at the edge of the paperwork. What about Uncle Kevin and my parents? Separate agreements. Kevin's looking at criminal charges for harassment and intimidation. Your parents can work out their own payment plan. She signed the agreement that day. Full repayment, 18 months. Monthly payments of $1,230. If she missed 2 payments, the full balance would be due immediately, and we'd proceed with prosecution. Our parents' meeting was Thursday. They brought their own lawyer, some family friend who did real estate, not civil litigation. He spent 5 minutes reviewing our documentation before advising them to settle. Dad was furious. That's arson. How can he sue his own parents? He's not your son, Sarah said. You disowned him last week. Remember, this is just debt collection between strangers now. Mom had been quiet through most of the meeting, but finally spoke up. Ray, what do you want from us? I want what you owe me. Their lawyer worked out a payment plan, $900 per month for 22 months, totaling about $20,000, including legal fees. They signed reluctantly, but they signed. Uncle Kevin's situation was more complicated. He refused to settle and decided to fight both the civil case and the criminal harassment charges. That turned out to be a huge mistake. The criminal case went to trial first. Sarah's recording of his restaurant threat combined with evidence of the break-in and tire slashing was enough to convict him of harassment and intimidation. He got 6 months in county jail and a permanent restraining order. The civil case was a formality. After that, the court awarded me the full amount plus legal fees and punitive damages. Kevin's assets were seized to pay the judgment, his truck, his tools, and a lien on his house. His total came out about $8,000, including all penalties and fees. By Christmas, I had signed settlement agreements with my entire family, totaling $52,000 in payments over the next 2 years. The first payments were due January 1st. Elena made her first payment on time. So die to her parents? Uncle Kevin's payments were being made automatically through asset seizure. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the silence. No more emergency calls. No more crisis texts. No more relatives who only remembered my existence when their bills came due. For the first time in years, my phone stayed quiet. 1 year later, I was sitting on the deck of my new house in Flagstaff, watching the sunset through the pine trees. When my phone rang, Elena's name on the caller ID was like seeing a ghost. I'd moved to Flagstaff 6 months after the settlement agreements were signed. New job with a supply chain consulting firm, new house on 3 acres, new life away from the family that had never really been a family. Sarah and I had gotten engaged, and we were planning a wedding that none of my blood relatives would be invited to. Elena had been making her payments religiously every month, never late. Our parents had been doing the same with their $900 payments. I hadn't actually spoken to any of them since the settlement meetings. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Ray, what do you want? Elena, I need to talk to you about something important. If this is about modifying your payment plan, talk to David. It's not about that. I've been making the payments. It's about, dang, this is hard to say. I waited. I'm getting married. Congratulations, Ray. I want you to walk me down the aisle. The audacity of it took my breath away. After stealing from for years, after harassment and intimidation and criminal behavior, she wanted me to play happy family at her wedding. Are you freaking insane? I know how that sounds, but you're my brother and I'm your creditor. You owe me $8,000, I know, and I'm going to pay it all back. But Ray, I've changed. Really changed. I got a second job. I'm in therapy. I'm Elena. You tried to ruin my life when I asked for my money back. You broke into my apartment. You had my tires slashed. That was Uncle Kevin, not me. You enabled it. You participated in it? I know I did. And I'm sorry, really sorry. I could hear her crying, but it didn't affect me the way it used to. Who's walking you down the aisle if I don't? Dad said he would, but Ray, I want my brother there. My real brother. I'm not your brother anymore, Elena. You made that choice when you decided having a family member was less important than having a source of free money. Please just think about it. I don't need to think about it. The answer is no. He hung up. Sarah came out onto the deck with 2 drinks. Elena, she wants me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. Good grief, right? Are you okay? I thought about it. 2 years ago, that call would have destroyed me. I would have agonized over it. Felt guilty about saying no. Maybe even convinced myself to go just to keep the peace. Now I felt nothing but relief. I'm perfect, I said. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did to my family. The question always strikes me as backwards. I didn't do anything to my family. I stopped letting my family do things, Tom. There's a difference between holding grudges and refusing to be the victim. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube, this video deserves to blow up.